What is up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video and another full review, this time of the KYMCO AK550 Premium. I know this is a scooter a lot of you have been asking for, and it's been a while to get to this point, but finally we have on the channel a proper review of a KYMCO. And what a KYMCO, the flagship model, the AK550 Premium, 11,000 euros of Taiwanese greatness. Now you might see this scooter as being dirty and asking me, Alex, why didn't you wash it? Well, I didn't wash it, especially to prove a point, because I'm not just taking this scooter around the yard here. Oh no. Basically, this is my 7th day with this scooter. I've had this scooter for a full week. I've ridden it through the city, through the rain, to the shops, to work every single day. I've taken it on a 1,000-kilometer road trip in just a weekend, a day and a half. So I really got to know this thing, and I left it dirty, especially to prove the point that this thing has been used and abused for the past week, just for me to understand its weaknesses, its strong points, and what it's made out of exactly. So without further ado, as we usually do, let's take it from front wheel to back wheel and see exactly what's what. Alright, so starting off at the front, the first thing that we notice is we have a decently big touring windscreen, which is electrically operated. And not only is it electrically operated, unlike my Zontes 350 or many other motorcycles, it doesn't have just two positions, up or down. As long as you keep the button pressed down, it goes up or down. So if I want it just a little bit up, I press just a little, and you can adjust it to your preferred height exactly how you wish. It's a very simple method and extremely effective. Next we have the fairing mounted mirrors, which are pretty far forward but offer very good visibility. You have to get used to them a little bit, but they offer good visibility. Moving on to the headlights, we have full array of LED headlights. We have our daytime running lights right here on the side, we have our low beams here, and we have our high beams here. If I put it on high beam, as you can see, we have our high beams plus the flashing light. And also we have our turn signal indicators, again LED. This scooter is completely LED. Right here on the side, pretty big, pretty chunky, pretty visible. And all in all, a pretty aggressive stance to the headlight and to the front fascia of this machine. Moving on, we have an upside down fork and a 17-inch front wheel. And also in terms of braking, what is one of the main selling points of this scooter is we have advanced intelligent braking system, which basically means you have cornering ABS. Plus, up front we have dual 270 millimeters Brembo floating rotors with dual 4-piston calipers, again from Brembo, and also the master cylinder is a Brembo unit. So the stopping power of this machine is phenomenal. Moving on to the right hand side view, up here is where we have the tank, and we have a button here to open it, but we have to turn the scooter completely off for this to happen. So we have a button, we can open the fuel tank right here. It is a 14.5 liter fuel tank, and with a fuel consumption of about 4.4 declared liters per 100 kilometers, that should give you somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 kilometers of range. I tested out the range. We're going to talk about the fuel consumption and the range a little bit later. We have our rider floorboards, which do offer plenty of positions to put your feet, either up here, here, in the middle, or here. We have our transmission right here with the variator and rear pulley, because the clutch is on the other side. The engine is a dual cylinder engine, 550 cc, putting out, at least here in Europe, 37.5 kilowatts, which is about 51 horsepower and 52 newton meters of torque. Moving on back, we have our 2-in-1 exhaust, because again it's a dual cylinder engine. We have our passenger foot pegs, which are a little bit on the small side. Honestly, for around town it's no big issue, but for long distance touring with a passenger, the passenger might get uncomfortable with those small foot pegs. And further down on the back, we have our pretty big exhaust for this pretty meaty engine. Moving around to the back, again our big chunky exhaust with dual exits. It's one single muffler but with dual exits, and the exhaust sound is actually quite nice. We have an optional luggage rack here on the back. We have our full array of LED lights, rear lights. You can see them all in action in this little demonstration. Moving on down, we have a 15-inch rear wheel, a single disc 260mm Brembo disc out back with a single piston caliper, and also the final drive is a belt final drive. And lastly but not least, I have turned the scooter around so we can take a look at the left hand side of the scooter, because a lot of things are happening on both sides. First of all, I put it on its center stand, and we do have a center stand and a side stand, a pretty beautiful, well machined side stand, which is extremely stable for this class of machine. We have our oil dipstick where we check our oil, and right here is where the multi-plate clutch for the CVT transmission is located, pushing out power to a belt final drive system. So you do have a variator belt on the other side, and you do have a belt final drive on this side. Also, the monoshock rear suspension, which is adjustable for preload, although the adjustment is not all that easy to get to. I think you have to take a couple of fairings off to get to the adjustment, because it's on the other end of the shock absorber. In terms of storage space, of course, we have storage under the seat because this is a scooter. Electric opening. We have hydraulic rams keeping the seat up. We have a light here, and we have a pretty big storage space. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of around 40 liters. The truth of the matter is a helmet fits in here, and also a bit of space remains right here. It's pretty deep and pretty large. Now, normally I do not put my helmet under the seat. Usually it's for luggage, and believe me, for luggage you can take a weekend trip with just the storage space that's available underneath the seat. And now moving on to the dash. First of all, how to turn the scooter on. You push this button and the scooter comes to life and does all of its checks. We have three basic screens on the dash. These two side ones are just LCD. You can probably see them flickering in the image because there's nothing I can do to the settings of the camera to film them properly. Believe me, they don't flicker in real life. And in the middle we have a pretty small TFT dash, which normally is a speedometer, but you can set it to have phone notifications through the KYMCO app. On the right hand side we have our engine start button, we have our hazard lights, if we put it like this. We have our disc control selector, because currently it's in the right hand side, which means controls the two screens here, the two informations here, which can show you your average fuel consumption, your instant fuel consumption, your front tire pressure sensor, your rear tire pressure sensor, and your voltmeter. And if we push down, we have our trip A, our trip B, our oil interval, our belt interval, and our total odometer. But if we move it to the right, we can control this screen. Now, normally it would show you a lot of information. I don't have the app properly set up, so it just basically defaults to the speedometer, but that's how you control the screen. And also on the back here, we have our kill switch. Moving to the middle, we have 4 buttons. This is to lock the handlebars, to put on the handlebar lock. This is the trip meter, so you can change this here and only this with this button. We have our seat opening button, we have our fuel door opening button. Moving on to the left hand side controls, we have our parking brake lever right here. It's a cable operated parking brake. We have our up and down for the windscreen. Again, it goes up and down as much as you press the button. We have our horn. We have our turn signal indicators, and we do have a clicking noise. We have our passing light, we have our high beam, we have our button to turn on the daytime running lights or the low beam. On the back we have our mode selector, which switches from rain mode, sport mode with traction control off, and sport mode with traction control on. And right here on the back we have our heated grips button, which if we hold down for 3 seconds, a light appears on the dash showing us that our heated grips are working perfectly. Let's switch them off because the scooter is turned off and it will drain the battery. Also, in terms of idiot lights, you have a parking brake light, you have an engine a check engine light, an ABS light, an oil light. We have our rev counter here, our speedometer here, our fuel gauge here, our water temperature over there. Also, what I forgot to mention, on the left hand side we also have our cruise control. Press this button once to initiate the cruise control system. Press this button to set a certain speed. If you're going, let's say 100 kilometers an hour, you press this once and it will maintain 100 kilometers an hour. You have plus and minus to go up and down on the speed. If you tap a brake, the cruise control disengages, and if you want to return at that certain speed, you just press resume. Now, it may seem like a lot of buttons, but believe me, in a couple of days you get used to them and they won't be a problem anymore. Plus, they have a very, very nice tactile feel to them. Everything just feels like solid buttons and they feel good to the touch, including stuff like this. They just feel good. In terms of seat, we have a pretty big seating area for the rider and a decently big seating area for the passenger. We have our passenger grab handles, and also we have a backrest for the rider, which is adjustable. If we just open up the seat, we have a lever underneath here. We find it, and then we can push the lumbar support backwards and forwards to our preferred position, and then it just locks into place and it's all good. Close the seat back up. Now, the problem with these mid-mounted engine scooters is the fact that they are extremely wide here, because you have the engine here, transmission here, and fuel tank above the transmission. Now, the seat is just 785 millimeters tall, and I am 175 centimeters tall. On a seat height like this, I should reach the ground perfectly. But if I come around, put the scooter on its side stand, parking brake is engaged, set it on side stand. Again, it's a very stable side stand, and just get on it. Put the side stand up. As you can see, I can reach the ground, but not completely flat. Now, it's not a problem for me. I can easily manage the weight, and actually it's quite an easy scooter to keep upright. But it is a bit of a reach. For somebody who is just 175 centimeters tall, it is a bit of a reach. In terms of riding position, you can put your legs right here and ride like in a comfortable touring position. You can put them up here, or if you want to go extreme, you can go full Harley Davidson mode and go like this. You have plenty of options. Plus, if you're really touring long distance, you can open up your passenger pegs and, I don't know, keep your feet somewhere like here and go for full, either go for a different position or go full attack mode on let's say a mountain road. Let's open the second one. Yeah, we can go full attack mode, and it can be like full Valentino Rossi mode, like full attack, let's go punch it through the corners. But actually it's just a scoot, and it's extremely good at what it does, to be perfectly honest. But we'll talk about that in the riding part of the video. And you know what, I think I've given you just about all the info I could give you standing still. So, side stand up, ignition on. It does sound good, doesn't it? It does have a bit of a growl to it. Anyway, parking brake off, and let's take this thing for a ride. Come on, let's go. Whoa, traction control already kicking in. Oh yeah. Good thing this thing has traction control, because it has ample amounts of power. Oh yeah, let's stop for a bit. I forgot to show you one thing. If you see here, you have a little symbol, and this symbol is, let me just get it out of my pocket, for the KYMCO wireless key, because this is a wireless scooter, as I've shown with the button in the middle. In case at any point this key fob runs out of battery, you have your antenna signal here. You just hold it here and press the button, and the scooter will recognize the key. I only had to use it twice. I don't know exactly why. The key fob is not out of battery. I only had to use it twice, but it works. It worked every single time. I had two issues where I came in the morning to the scooter, it wouldn't recognize the key, and I just held it there and it recognized it immediately. One other small niggle is the fact that the scooter won't change riding modes if you are above 20 kilometers an hour. See, nothing. Once I'm below 20 to 15, you can change riding modes. Now granted, you wouldn't want to change riding modes on the fly, except to go from road mode to rain mode, but then you would have to stop anyway to put on some rain gear. And if you want to go to from sport mode with traction control to sport mode without traction control, I do not recommend going to sport mode without traction control, but in case you need that, it can do it. And probably the only reason you would need to do that is to either because you have a puncture, at which point you've already stopped and checked your rear wheel, because you've been warned by the tire pressure sensors that you have a puncture, so you've already stopped so you can change modes. Or if you want to do a burnout, in which case, again, you are already stopped. And believe me, this thing has ample power to do a burnout. Now, I'm not going to do a burnout because I want to get a few more scooters from KYMCO. But yeah, it has ample power to do a burnout. Finally riding the AK550. A lot of you have been asking for this review. A lot of you have been asking me to get on the AK. How is the AK compared to the TL? Now, I might disappoint you in this video because I'm not gonna be comparing the AK to the TL all that much, because there is a pretty significant price difference between them. It's about 2,500 euros, so it's hard to justify a comparison. Now, the TL is cheaper, but also the TL is a little bit slower. This thing is about 1.5 seconds faster to 100 kilometers an hour, 7.2 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour to be precise, because I timed it, and I'll put a short video about the performance and the acceleration and how I measured it. But yeah, it's faster than the Maxim TL. Top speed is 185 kilometers an hour. That's the maximum I was able to reach with this scooter. 185 indicated on the dash, which probably means about 175 real world GPS speed. Plus, this scooter has a lot of amenities that the TL doesn't have, like the electric windscreen, like the heated grips, like the cruise control, like the cornering ABS. These are all things that cost money. So for the budget-oriented rider, then the TL offers about 90% of the performance, because the handling is just about the same, because it's a mid-mounted engine on both of them, for 2,500 euros less. But if you want the Brembo brakes, if you want the electrically adjustable windscreen, the cruise control, which I did use a lot on my trip on the highway, I maintain cruise control is extremely important on a highway cruiser, then yeah, you're gonna have to pony up for the extra money for the AK550. And now getting into our first bit of traffic, the first thing I noticed on my first day riding the AK is the fact that it is actually quite easy to maneuver through traffic. The wing mirrors are a little bit wide, but you get used to them pretty quickly. It's difficult to adjust them on the fly if you need, but it's okay for visibility. They're good for visibility, and they are decently easy to finesse in between cars without hitting anybody. As you can see, it kind of becomes a second nature on where the mirrors are positioned and how to adjust your lines so you don't hit cars. Also, the scooter is extremely well balanced. These mid-mounted engine scooters always are extremely well balanced, and you can feel it every single time you are in a tight situation, because just a bit of speed and yeah, the thing just dances in between cars. Unfortunately here, I don't know if we can fit through there. Let's try it. It's a very tight spot, and I think we might. Thank you. Yep, as you can see, we can finesse our way through traffic. Maybe not as easy as a small little 125, but the fact that we can see our mirrors makes it actually quite easy to finesse them in between cars. And the response of the engine, every time you give it a bit of gas, every time you see a bit of a gap and you want to go for it, the response of the engine is unparalleled. These multi-plate CVT clutches really just bite into the power. As soon as you give them power, they just go, baby, they go. Like here, come on, nah, we don't have anywhere to open it up. But again, like I said, it's quite easy to maneuver it through traffic if the drivers would be paying attention where they are driving. And anytime you need a little bit of extra oomph, you have it available in spades. Anytime you need to get away from cagers, you have speed on your side. Speed and power always makes a difference. So I've been using it for the past week as my only scooter, riding it to work, riding it to the shops. I was able to get a lot of shopping under the seat, a week's worth of shopping from the supermarket under the seat. I was able to get all my necessities that I need to get to work and everything every single day. Never had a problem with the underseat storage. I never put my helmet under the seat because that's my choice, but I was really happy with the underseat storage. The advantages of scooters like this is the fact that the underseat storage may not be as long as regular maxi scooters, but it's always a lot deeper and a lot wider than regular maxi scooters. So that makes it actually quite easy to fit stuff like a duffel bag inside, or shopping, or what, things that are not necessarily long but are also wide and tall and stuff like that, like usual things like a shopping bag, like a duffel bag when you go on a weekend trip. It makes it easy for you to pack on this thing. And now, since we have to put some fuel in this thing because it is screaming at me for a bit of fuel, we can talk a little bit about the fueling procedure and the fuel economy. Now, around the city, I've been getting about 5.3, 5.4 liters per 100 kilometers in regular use, normal use, which is decent for this class of scooter and this power and how I'm using it. And on the long distance road trip, it used up exactly as much as KYMCO said it would, 5.4 liters per 100 kilometers. Now the procedure to fuel it up is we come to a complete stop, we put it on the center stand, we completely turn it off, and we press the fuel door button, which opens up the fuel door. And right here, just lift this one up, twist it, and pressurize a little bit. And we can even set it down here so we don't lose it. And if we want to close it, we cannot close it because we have it over there. Anyway, let's put some fuel in this thing and get back on the road. Okay, all fueled up and ready to go. Let's push it off its center stand, get on the bloody thing, switch it on. Again, recognize the key, no problem. Turn it on and let's go. You know, it's amazing for such a big and heavy machine. It's about 236 kilograms wet and ready to ride. Just look at it, how easy it is to balance and how easy the clutch engagement is, and the throttle, how easy it is to modulate even in sport mode. Now, I did ride this thing in rain mode, and to be perfectly honest, you do feel quite a bit of difference between sport mode and rain mode. Rain mode really dulls down the experience quite a lot, and honestly, with traction control, you don't really need rain mode. Just take it in, leave it in sport mode with traction control on, and you have such a fine control over the throttle. Let's check for pedestrians. Nothing. Feet are still up, and we can accelerate smoothly from almost a dead stop without any kind of hiccup, without any kind of jerkiness from the transmission. But again, if you're scared or a beginner, then yeah, you can put it in rain mode and be done with it. Let's see here again, traffic and traffic and traffic, nice and easy in between. Yeah, it's so easy to maneuver because it's so well balanced. It's once you get used to it, it feels a little bit hefty at the beginning. But as soon as you get used to it, it just, you kind of get in tune with it. In terms of suspension, riding it through the city, the rear suspension especially soaks up the bumps really, really nicely. And also the front suspension does its job very well. I had no problems. And on the open road, again, the suspension is comfortable, maybe a tad on the soft side, maybe a little bit, because if you slam on the brakes, the thing does nosedive quite a bit. But it's a comfortable suspension, and on an open mountain road I had no problem with it.
riding it pretty aggressively, although we did have sand on the road, but I did give it a little bit of stick. And now for brakes, Brembo brakes. You cannot beat Brembo brakes. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys, you cannot beat Brembo brakes. The lever feel is amazing on Brembo brakes, and the stopping power, as soon as you grab the lever even just a little bit, it gives you that confidence. It nosedives a little bit, but it gives you that confidence because you feel the brake pads just biting into the rotors. It's something Brembo just does, and does very, very well, and very few have come close to them on certain applications, but nobody absolutely nails it every single time, just like Brembo does. And now we're going to head to the highway and take it a little bit on the highway and see how it rides at higher speeds. Now, before we get on the highway, we should put it into touring mode by lifting the windscreen as high as it goes, and everything just becomes a lot more quieter. You do feel a bit of buffeting from these sides, but it all depends on how the wind is blowing. And also, let us turn on our heated grips because it is a little bit chilly. And we don't have hand guards. Now, the mirrors do take a bit of wind off your hands, but not completely. And also the heated grips, I have to say this, they worked perfectly fine all through the week of testing, except on Saturday, on my first day of road tripping, where all day long they had an error and they just wouldn't work. The next day, on Sunday, after 100 kilometers of bombing it down the highway, they magically started working again, and they've been working ever since. So a bit of a glitch in the system, but somehow they fixed themselves and now they're working properly. And I know you guys are eager, but once we are on the highway starting here, we can open up the taps and let the thing scream as it climbs up past 130, going 40, 50. The thing will cruise with ease at 150 kilometers an hour, turning close to 7,000 RPM, and it's perfectly stable, it's perfectly comfortable at this speed. We are gonna drop it down a notch because we do have traffic here. We're still at the beginning of the highway, but yeah, this thing will cruise effortlessly at some pretty ridiculous speeds for a scooter. Now we have to merge and hard on the brakes again. Brembo's giving me confidence to really work the system and really use everything the scooter has. And now we're in a construction zone, so one press on the cruise control button, get up to speed. Oh, construction zone is off, so let's open up the taps again. And now we can set our cruise control, and we're doing 105, and we can hit plus, and we can go even higher and higher and higher, and we can maintain a comfortable speed. Now cruise control, although this scooter maxes out at about 180 kilometers an hour, cruise control can only give you 134 kilometers an hour, which is about 121, 122 on the GPS. You can open up the throttle a little bit more and get a little bit of extra speed, but yeah, it really doesn't help maintain the speed. And now we let some cars pass, and we get back in the fast lane, and we hit resume, and the scooter will go again to its set 134 kilometer an hour speed, because that was the last setting. I've toured on it for 1,000 kilometers in basically a day and a half, and it's so comfortable touring at these speeds. It's actually quite a bit amazing that with just 50 horsepower it can do this. And this is nothing for it. We're turning 6,000 RPM. This is nothing for this engine. The fact that it can happily cruise at this speed all day long and drink, in terms of fuel consumption, somewhere in the region of 4.4 liters per 100 kilometers, which is extremely economical for these kinds of speeds, just goes to show you that KYMCO does know how to make a good engine. And it is a KYMCO developed engine. It's not bought from anybody, it's not borrowed from anybody. It is 100% a KYMCO developed and produced engine, and drivetrain for that matter. Everything, transmission, clutch, belt drive, everything is their own making. And I can so happily do 134 on cruise control, hands off the handlebars. It's extremely stable, it's extremely solid and confidence inspiring. Even when passing trucks, you feel just about nothing. You feel nothing of the draft from trucks trying to pull you in or pull you out. Just check it out here, 134 cruise control set, just 2 fingers on the handlebars, and we're just passing trucks like it's nothing. It doesn't give you that sense that once you get close to a truck, it wobbles around. No, it's perfectly stable with or without a top case, because currently it doesn't have a top case. But on my trip I did put a top case, a 45 liter GVB 45 plus top case on the back, and even with that it was perfectly fine and didn't have any kind of issues when you were passing trucks or other cars. So the aerodynamics on this thing are absolutely bang on. But now we're gonna have to get off the highway and ride it a little bit on some back roads where we can have a bit of fun with it. Now I don't have mountain roads around me, but yeah, we'll make do with what we have at hand. Alright, here's our exit. Dab of brake to get it off the cruise control. The scooter does engine brake. It has a pretty strong engine brake. Signal we're gonna exit the highway, and exit the highway like civilized people that we are. There we go, off the highway and onto the back roads. This is where again this thing shines, because mid-mounted engine scooters have a certain dynamic element to them. They are extremely well balanced in the corners and feel more like motorcycles, not like regular scooters. Scooter riders know this. A scooter has a certain style of behavior in a corner, while this thing just doesn't. It handles like a motorcycle. Oh, I think I went the wrong way again. Maneuvering it, it's still a little scooter, and then let's go the proper way. I don't have my GPS mounted. Tomorrow I have to take the AK back to KYMCO, so I took off my quad lock from its mount right here. But yeah, I think I remember these roads. We're gonna have a bit of fun on them. Lower the windscreen so we can see a little bit better. Again, the windscreen is dirty. I'm sorry for that, but it is what it is. And hard on the brakes. Just when you throw out the anchors, this thing just puts a stop to everything. And then the dynamics, just lean into a corner just like any other motorcycle. It just feels like a regular motorcycle, and it is actually, you know what, I'm gonna lift the windscreen because I want some better audio. It is better than a regular scooter. All of these mid-mounted engine scooters just handle better than a regular scooter. I know you can make a regular scooter do a lot of things in the corners, but these things just handle better. It's just physics. You cannot change it. You cannot do anything to a regular scooter to make it handle like this. Like I said, just simple physics. And now, because we have a quiet bit of road, I can show you a little bit just how well this thing gets off the line, because you kind of have to hold on to it a little bit. So hard on the brakes, ABS kicking in, and ready, 3, 2, 1, full gas. There we go. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and we're on our way to 110, 120, 130. Come on, baby, sing for me, baby. 150, 160. It just pulls and brakes. Again, anchors. You pull out the anchors and it just shaves off speed faster than it gains it. And if you want to ride it like a sensible human being and enjoy the countryside, again, you can put it into cruise control at 78, let's go a little bit more, 80 kilometers an hour, and just admire the scenery with your windscreen high up and enjoying the scenery. We got a straight bit of road. Let's enjoy the fields. What is this? This is wheat. Let's enjoy the wheat field. Oh, a bit of a pothole, not a problem. Just scoot it to one side and you're done with it. It's a tremendously good all-rounder, to be perfectly honest with you guys. It's a tremendously good all-rounder. You can do just about anything on this damn thing. You can go shopping, you can use it every day around the city, and every day around the city it's just a regular twist and go scooter. And then you take it out on the highway and the thing can bomb down the highway at speeds that are above the legal limit, and it can do it all day long without breaking a sweat, without making a fuss, and using less fuel than any other motorcycle that you would usually use for touring at high rates of speed. And because it's a scooter and it's a scooter engine, it is made to run at high RPM. So 6,000, 7,000 RPM sustained engine speeds is nothing for this engine. This is how this engine was made to run, and it will happily run like this for a lot of time. I've seen AKs go above 100,000 kilometers on their stock engines. You just have to maintain them. You have to do your oil changes and maintain your service intervals. And if you do that, you have a machine that's able to give you copious amounts of miles per gallon for a lot of years, and plus a machine that doesn't limit you in any way, shape or form, except maybe if you want to do off-road trails. Then this thing, yeah, it's not quite made for off-road trails, but anything else, running around the city, running errands around the city, going to work and back, going shopping, going on a big road trip, and kids just enjoy it. It is a bit of a head turner, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, you can do just about anything on it. On my road trip, I did do 1,000 kilometers in a day and a half. It was perfectly comfortable, it was perfectly stable, the fuel consumption was good. I was getting about 300 kilometers out of a tank, which is pretty good. I would have liked maybe a little bit of a bigger tank, but it is what it is. 14.5 liters is a decent amount. But yeah, it's hard for me to fault it. If there were maybe a couple of things that I could say about it that were a bit negative, let me think. Right. It's expensive for one. It's out of my price range, but that's a me problem, not a KYMCO problem. Compared to the TL, it is a little bit more expensive, but then again, you get a lot more kit for your money. So I think these two in the market complement each other beautifully. You got the more bare bones option from Sim, and then the more high-tech version from KYMCO. The Yamaha T-Max, I know, is a staple in this category. So Yamaha, the ball is in your court if you want to give me a T-Max to test for a week, so I can compare all three of them and I don't know, understand why the T-Max is 5,000 euros more expensive than this. Because if the Yamaha can justify its price against the Maxim TL, against this thing, I don't know where you can justify 5,000 euros against this thing. But yeah, coming back to niggles, what I don't like about it, let me see. First of all, sometimes when you come to a stop, it does do a bit of a jerkiness as the clutch disengages, but you get used to it. I would have liked the ride modes to be able to change them on the fly, but you have to be under 20 kilometers an hour. And the passenger foot pegs are a little bit small. And I think that's it. Let me think about it. Yeah, that's it. Those are my only niggles with it, because it's hard to, I don't know, argue with this. the way this thing just growls and launches and keeps on pulling above the legal speed limit, it's just intoxicating is the word. So all in all, an awesome machine from KYMCO. Definitely a lot of work has gone into this scooter from the engineers over at KYMCO, and it's a world-class machine. And I think the best praise I can give it is I'm gonna be sad to see it go. I'm gonna be sad tomorrow giving it back. Now unfortunately I cannot afford one of these machines, but I am gonna miss it in terms of an experience, because holy balls does it like to play. It did feel at the beginning a little bit weird, like it didn't want to turn in, but then I realized it's a mid-mounted engine scooter. You have to move your weight around, and once you move your ass around on the seat and shuffle your weight left and right, this thing just dances like a ballerina. The big whale puts on its dancing shoes and dances like a ballerina. Anyway guys, if you have any other questions on the KYMCO AK550 Premium, please put them down in the comments below. Also, I will have a link to the local Romanian importer, and if you live in Romania and you are interested in the AK550 or any other models, contact details from them will be in the description down below. And if you want to test ride this AK550, give them a call, because this is part of their test ride fleet, and I'm very, very happy and thank them for trusting me with their one of their most expensive models, because they also have the CV3 three-wheeler, and I think we might see that on the channel maybe in a month or two. Who knows? Keep your fingers crossed. That's going to be an interesting one. But trusting me with one of their most expensive scooters, their premium scooter, their top range topping two-wheeled machine, as our first collaboration. This is my first collaboration with the local KYMCO importer, and the fact that they started me off on this behemoth and allowed me to ride it into another country, because I did go on my trip to Bulgaria, that says a lot about the people working at KYMCO Romania. So if you have any other questions, put them down in the comments below. If you live in Romania, give KYMCO Romania a look. All the contact details are in the description down below. And also, if you go to the showroom, please tell them that you saw this video, so they know that the message has gone out. And if you live in other countries, then go check out the AK550 Premium at your local KYMCO dealership. Thank you again to all my members for supporting the channel and supporting me in my shenanigans and helping this channel grow along, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until next time guys, take care out there and ride safe. Bye.